great guest on today. Welcome to Prospect Podcast. I have me, and to my right today, Coach D. As usual, we got Cody Hughes, performance coach, strength conditioning coach, out there in the Tennessee area, right?
Now I am, yeah.
Yeah, Nashville, Tennessee area. Great place to be. It's great to have you on, talk to you more, and talk some football with you, talk some strength and conditioning with you, talk some performance coaching with you. It's if you can, just kind of give a little bit of intro of how you got into it all, how you arrived to where you are today.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I started off. I was a college baseball player and Division C in Birmingham, Alabama, and during my college career of playing, I fell in love with the weight room and what it did for my career. And I got hurt in college and had to have elbow surgery, and thought I wanted to be a physical therapist. Realized really quick that slow environment was not for me. Not really interested in working with 89-year-old grandmothers, with a knee replacement. So. And so I really was at a crossroads of what I want to do in my life. And I've always had a passion for coaching, and I love the weight room, and I had somebody steer me towards strength conditioning and performance. And at my Division II university, we didn't have one, right? It was all on us, at that point where I was playing. And so got to get in at an internship at Mississippi State University with their football program there in the summer of 2016. And I got bit with the bug and started getting obsessed with performance and what to do for all athletes. And football, is where I got my start there in strength conditioning. I played football in high school and loved it. I was just better baseball player, so I played it in college. And I was there for 3 months, went on, took a GA position at the University of West Alabama. You guys, middle of nowhere, Alabama is where Scott Cochran's at now. It's one of the first ever GAs there for the year of 2016. And the 2017 offseason, got to be a part of that offseason that ended up leading them to the third round of the playoffs. Lost to the eventual national champion that year. Then got my first full-time college gig at McNeese State University in Southwest Louisiana in 2017. Was an assistant director there. I was overseeing all kind of sports guys, and I was helping with football, baseball, softball, volleyball, overseeing and training all kind of sports. And at that point in my career, I was like, well, I'm not sure if college strength conditioning was something I wanted to stay in, just through the nature of the job. And got an opportunity to go to Madison Academy in Huntsville, Alabama, pretty nice private school. And I was there for 7 years. I got to be able to see truly long-term athletic development and be able to oversee the training from 7th to 12th graders. And I was there for 7 years. So I saw multiple classes come through, signed, 40-plus scholarship players, got to play in a state title game, won a couple track and field state titles, some tennis state titles. And it was really special. And but at the same time, I was building an online presence and starting to build tools for coaches and having an opinion on things and trying to help coaches in the online space. And you meet the right people. And then 2 years ago, I got into the NFL combine prep space, made some relationship with some agents, and they really wanted me to train some prospects. And mostly these are UDFA guys that are just trying to crack a mini camp, right? Like just trying to be really good at pro day. Had some success there over the last 2 years. Even got to be, sports science is kind of my gig. If you guys kind of follow me a little bit, I've really dove into those concepts and got to be sports scientist for Les Spellman and his actual NFL combine group. We got to spend the time in Indianapolis this year. And so now I'm outside of the high school realm. I'm now in the private sector here in Nashville. We're building something special here with a new company that's up and coming with me and Brian Kula. If you guys know who Brian Kula is.
We've had him on.
Yeah, so Brian and I are now everyday partners, which has been a very special opportunity for us. We've been wanting to work together for years, and being able to do it in Nashville is a dream come true.
So making the leap, you coached in college. Before I ask that, what Division II school were you at that didn't have strength and conditioning? I'm just curious.
University of Montevallo. It's a non-football school in the Gulf South Conference. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting. It's interesting that they didn't have strength and conditioning.
Non-football schools probably don't. That's the thing.
They don't. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Football brought strength and conditioning, right? Like it brings strength. It brought strength and conditioning, from to the lower levels. Even some high schools, right? Like small high schools, football players are going to be training, but not all the other sports are training if they don't have a program, right? So
100%. It's 100%.
But they do now. Like the university I'm at has a full program director and everything. I've been really, really happy to see it happen ever since I've graduated. So.
No, well, yeah, I guess everything continues to evolve. People start to realize more and more, obviously, the importance of it.
Like, oh shit, we got to train. Like, okay.
Yeah, we got with championships. Tell the baseball players to go jog a lap around the stadium. Doesn't work anymore.
Right. Yeah, no.
I used to work when they had Keith Hernandez and the vets of the 1980s. But no, it's really interesting because you've been in college, you've been to high school, and now you're with Kula at this facility, and we talked to Kula about it quite extensively. I guess maybe it was like a month or two ago, maybe.
Couple 3 weeks. I think it was like 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe a month ago. Like kind of right when he was he had just gotten back from vacation because I was battling that with him. So whenever he got back from there, that's when we had him on. And he was great.
Yeah, it's interesting because when moving from the school sector to the private industry, what was the thought in that, and what excited you about making that move?
Well, a couple things. One, at the high school level, I felt like, there's sometimes you're at a place and you feel like you've given everything you have to a place, and sometimes it's time to move on.
Yep.
And more and more that I kind of dipped my toe into, the NFL world, private training and making an impact in that area. Plus, from a business point of view, it's always just been something I've been, passionate about. Like, I'm a builder, something I love to do. I like to go in and build something. I'm a problem solver.
You're talking to one right here, whatever way, whatever way it is. Like, that's what this guy does. Like, that's what it is, brother. So
yeah, so that's it, man. So that's what excited me. And trust, like the fact that I was able to come and do this with Brian was kind of the nail in the coffin for me. Like, an opportunity to be mentored under one of the best in the world. I mean, I really believe he's not just one of the top practitioners, but also one of the best humans at the same time, and getting to learn the craft and understanding, be able to make an impact from, and just from the support of what we have going on here and the resources behind our vision and what we're doing that we haven't really released to the public yet, and it's coming. But being able to build something that have an impact that's really, really big, and being able to have a little more, life in my own hands and see what I can go and make something, take a little more risk for a lot bigger reward. So
it's awesome.
Absolutely. It's I haven't been in the private sector basically first, but before I did anything in the school space. The freedom. I used to say that was to me the thing. The freedom was the biggest difference in that versus school, where you have to work with multiple different teams, and you have to figure out what works best with each teams with whatever coach's input, and kind of taking what that person wants to do. When you're in your own facility, it's kind of how you devise the program and selling that to your clients that your kind of methodology or style or whatever it is the best way of doing it. So there's obviously two different mindsets that they can work in both areas, but it's that freedom that you can literally craft everything the way that you want to. And there's pros and cons to that, right? Like the tough part of that is you have to go get clients and you got to right.
The thing about the school setting for me, it was like, look, these kids are going to show up whether I'm getting paid regardless. So like, at the end of the day, that gives you a little bit of support and security. They're like, all right, I've got freedom to do what I want. But at the same time, like, the kid that's forced into my class or has to do this is not necessarily interested. Well, in the private sector, it's like, one, I better demonstrate my value immediately. I better be good at what I do. Two, how do I make it attractive to people to want to come back and continue to train with us and be able to put out a product and an experience that's going to make people want to share it and then build it from there. So that's really exciting for me, is to see, all right, let's see what you're made of, man. These kids don't have to come see you anymore. Like, are you actually any good?
Right.
From there.
Do you get them to now, right? Like, they want to be there, right? So it's like you said, it's not like you're forced, right? So now I kind of have to tweak it because look, you knew you were going to get 25 kids every day at this time, like, and half were going to care and half could give two shits about what we're talking about here, right? So now it's like, look, I'm not getting that. I need to have an appeal that those 25 guys want to come, right? Otherwise, I'm not going to be here very long. So I think that mindset of, yeah, like almost like compare it to like, you know, you're on the trapeze, right? Like, and there's always a net underneath you. And now it's like, there's no more net. Like, so,
Right.
you know, we got to go. Right.
Well,
And
I'll speak into that a little bit, you know, like from your example of, you say they want to be there, but keep in mind with like, I'm training middle school and high school athletes still. And sometimes it's the parent that wants them there.
Damn right. I mean, we deal with it all.
They're
Absolutely.
the ones paying it, you know? So like sometimes you got something that's being forced there. So here's the thing. Like when it comes to this setting where I'm at, it's a little bit different than the school setting. Cause a lot of times that like school setting coaches don't do well in the private sector because all they want to do is be extremely harsh, extremely disciplined. This hard work is what you're supposed to do. And it becomes an extremely terrible experience for the kid and they never come back. And then in a team setting, you don't really have a choice, right? You want to play, so you're going to figure it out. So coaches have a longer leash on that, whether it's effective or not, as far as being relational and trying to get a kid to buy in. But now we have to consider experience just as much as we do programming. You know, like do you have a personality that a kid's going to like you, that a kid's going to have a good experience with you? Now, at the same time, in this private sector, what makes that dangerous is you got plenty of coaches out there that are damn good salesmen and really charismatic, and their programming is dog shit, right?
Right.
And they can't.
There's no essence to it, right?
Correct. So there's, and it's hard for parents to tell the difference. And if little John is coming like, man, I love coach. Like, I want to keep going back. And they're just like, okay, great. But they don't know whether or not they're getting what they're actually going to that training for other than an experience. So we're trying to do our best to deliver both.
That's a great. So the point, and that's what I found when I had my facility and then running the camps for many years.
That's a great point.
I used to always find that it was very, very difficult because the results take place over time, right? So it's hard for a parent who just walks in and doesn't know anything to know the difference. But you have to talk to the athlete and see how he's feeling and see, you know, do they feel like they're getting better, and then do your own research as well as to like some of these things, because it's important because ultimately getting performance out of an athlete, it's nuanced over time. It's small little progressions, but in the long run, it becomes a big difference, right? And that's, but to the parent who signs up for like, I don't know, 12 sessions or something like that, or 10 sessions, and they sign up with you, and you know you're trying to get them to obviously develop in 10 sessions, they may not know exactly the difference between you and somebody else, right? Especially if somebody's like some great salesperson at getting them in the door. What are some of the difference makers that you try to help them understand between what you're doing and what, you know, XYZ might be doing?
Sure. So the way that you battle that, in my opinion, is two ways. Number one, proof of concept, period, when somebody Googles your name. Like if somebody finds me on social media or Brian Kula on social media, they already know who we've worked with. They know our body of work. They pretty much have an understanding that these guys are for real. So like that's already marketing for us and selling us on the front end without us even having to do anything. And then when we're trying to get somebody to sign up, we hopefully have an intelligent, you know, educational step-by-step process, because when you come and want to be trained with us, it's not just like, hey, it's open signups. Whoever's got a checkbook is going to write.
Right.
Because that's not what we're doing here. You know, we're not necessarily begging for money. You know, it's more like an application process, and we're gonna tell you on the front end who we are. This is how we train. This is our philosophy. This is how we get results. Are we for you? Is this a good fit? And if you agree to that, we've come to an agreed conclusion that, all right, we've already had this front end conversation of what training is going to look like. And if we can come to a shared agreement, that's a huge part of go ahead and knocking that out of the bud, to where parents don't necessarily have room to fight there. You know, now they still might want to exit or quit because they simply are just extremely in denial, or extremely stubborn, where some parent comes to me and is like, hey coach, I've got a kid that's going to come to you for 4 sessions. He's running in camps this summer. He needs to run 4.5. And I'm like, buddy, your kid's running 5.2. I'm not a magician. I'm a coach.
Correct.
That's not going to happen. Yeah.
This ain't Harry Potter.
I know. And I'm just going to tell you straight up,
And that honesty,
I like that one. This ain't Harry
No.
Potter. I'm using that one there. I like that one.
Listen, I'm just because obviously I see it, right? Like I coach high school ball, right? I get them in there. I mean, we start working with them. Our 8th graders come in 2 nights a week from March to just get them acclimated to a weight. And Dave is in the youth world, and we see it. Like the problem now is like the expectation of what can actually happen, and the speed at which they expect it to happen is like the moon. Like they just don't understand how long it actually takes and what it takes and the process and the consistency and all of those things. Like you said, we're not magicians, and you can't snap your fingers and instantaneously, like I go from a 4.8 to a 4.4, and now here's the scholarship that's expected to be handed to me because that's all I see on social media, right? Like,
at the end of the day, like you got kids that are constantly comparing themselves to what they see on social media, and there's so much so much exposure now that can actually works negatively more than positively for kids, because at the end of the day, you get exposed of who you are, whether you're good or not. And that's a hard truth for some parents and kids to sit with.
Damn right.
And you know what the easiest way to improve your 40 time is to game the system. It's not actually getting faster. It's game the system. So try to figure out a way to make it seem like you're faster or seem
smoke
like you're
and mirrors.
better, or absolutely. That's the less that there's less friction there to do it. So a lot of times people are going to try to do that just so their kid can get an opportunity, which really sucks, because at the end of the day,
speed
you're not
up the highlight tape, right? Like speed up the highlight tape a little bit, right? Look, we know all the tricks to the trade, right? Like, hey man, this was, it was a hand time, but like when he runs a laser time, it's all that. Like, there's so many things that, and I call them like social media, like just guys, right? Like there are guys that literally get offered scholarships based off of like what has been created by this social media vibe. But when it comes down to it, and it's really that nitty gritty of like, all right, now you got to go perform, that's where they fall short. And it's hard because it's not, sometimes like what we've seen is the kid is being pushed and pumped and promoted so much by the parent, and they've done a great job. We've taken him to this college, and he made it look like they want him there, when really I've paid for everything that this is and bought him the gloves to take the pictures, right?
Oh, wait, you mean that elite invite camp that you got a letter for that cost you $500?
Yes. And the email for the invite that also went out to the 3,000 other kids that are on a list of just randomness, right? It's not the direct DM or text message from the coach saying, right, like, hey, I want you to come up for a visit. There's only 3 guys going to be here. Like,
that's why I used to like it. So with all the trainers, and one of the things that I found is interesting, because I ran over years, I ran over 100 showcases around the country from like 2006 to, I don't know, maybe 20, right before COVID. And what I used to love about the combines and timing everybody was that the trainers would invariably text me on Monday that we don't know how to time, because what they did was, it's like what you speak about. What they did was they had a kid, let's say for 10 sessions, they timed them in a pre-test, and you know this because they timed them in a pre-test, they timed them in a post-test right at the end of 10 sessions, and their time was 2/10 faster. Let's say they were 4.8, when he came in, they ran a 4.6 on his time. Comes to the combine, blasts like a 4.8 or 4.75 or something, and we're the bad guys, right? But I always,
of course,
what was great about that era is kind of gone now, because everyone just goes to the college camps and you don't really even know what time. There's still some combines, but what was great about that independent process, and what used to be great when I with college coaches, was they used to get a real time before they came to the college camps, so they knew beforehand. Okay, this kid ran 4.75 in the spring. I get a watch on him. Let's see what he ran. And now, obviously, if you go to college camp tonight, they really, for the most part, don't tell you what your time is, and you only know that your time is
because there's 300 kids there, and we got to get to the next one, dude. You know, like we got to keep going here. Let me get it on the car to go.
But your point about your point about how they're lying to them, right? They're just basically looking to get them to sign up for another 10 sessions. And what was nice about those combines was it started to hold trainers accountable, because if you were making stuff up, and at the time we used to have 20,000 kids that would come through. Exposure. They would invariably come to our camp at some point, and you would get like an actual time on them, right? So you would be held accountable, and you would know, okay, what my trainers tell me is pretty much true. Obviously, there's always some variances, but they're pretty much true or not true. And what you have now is, which is a little more difficult, is back to the era where like you guys have to really show the difference, which you're able to do. Obviously, you guys have a great reputation. Cool has a great reputation, but showing those differences, and that's where like working with the NFL guys. When I was an agent, because I had a training facility from 2004 to 2011, I had 3 of them at one point, and we used to focus on a lot of stuff. Then I was an agent from 2014 to 2000, right after COVID, maybe 2021, I guess. And when I would go and work with training facilities to bring my guys to, I think Kula had just started at that point, or just beginning. I would go to guys that I knew were like fantastic at getting guys to better in a short time frame, because you have a short time frame for the NFL combine, meaning teaching the 40-yard dash technique, any of the tests they have to do, nailing the technique, nailing the sprinting form, nailing their explosiveness, combining the lifts with all those kind of things, and then obviously the skill work that they would have to do. Being able to bring in experts to help them with, whether they're a receiver or whatever, route running, and knowing who those guys were, because I was in the training industry before, I knew who the guys were around the country that were pretty good. I could send my guys to a place, no doubt about it, and know that they were going to come out with a good result. It would be interesting because I would see so many NFL, like you're working with the UDFAs for the most part, so many UDFAs, the difference between them getting a guy that was good and helping them versus a guy who was not good, because a lot of UDFAs don't have as much money, obviously, as the first round or second rounders. Their agent's only going to spend at X amount of dollars on them. So you got to get good bang for your buck, right? And so you got to find guys that really know what they're doing. The difference was the difference between them signing with the team or getting in a camp and not getting picked up at all, and it was really, really interesting. And having that knowledge helped my clients be much more successful than other people that might have been just as good an agent as I was, but they didn't know the training aspect and who to get people to. Talk about how, like, when you work with those top flight players or potential top flight players, how you're able to really work on the things that make all the difference.
You mean in general training, or for like training for
combine training, right? Because a lot of those guys now are going into OTAs in the camps. Just came out of mini camps, and some of those guys went out, and the next class is looking at everything, right? It's like, who do I go to? Like, wow, this guy who I thought was going to make it didn't, already is cut, didn't get out of OTAs. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
talk about that part.
Sure. I mean, here's what's tough. Combine training is brutal because, and honestly, I hate it, because I just think there's a lot of it that's a bunch of BS, because like I think there's too much technology. You're trying to find how fast somebody is that you even need to do the 40. And the only reason that the 40 is even comparable or even something that's even being used still is because it's this massive TV event now, and it makes a ton of money. So
I mean, Rich Eisen's running it for money, coach. Like, we're talking.
I'm telling you. So and I've even got evidence with people I know of them manipulating times at the combine. That's 100% true.
Really?
Like, I will stand on that. Yeah, absolutely. Like, awesome. When you actually study
how,
the data,
how are they manipulating? Because they use what's the system? It's what's his name system? Weinstein system, right? Not Weinstein.
Zybeck.
Zybeck.
Mike
Yeah, it's
Zybeck.
his system.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zybeck. Yeah.
Here's the thing. So I could talk about this for hours.
Yeah, I love. That's what we're here for. That's
this is where there's a huge discrepancy
sure.
in training and in the 40 and education to the general public on this, and especially coaches that might not know. So at the combine, you get both the way that they measure it is with a hand start laser finish. Okay. And that hand start actually has a plus minus of about 0.08. So it can give you 0.08 faster or 0.08 slower based off of human reaction time. Okay, just from a human error. That's a massive swing. That's a point swing.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Right. So now, but you also have to understand that they have those laser splits there, but the splits are non-human error. Right? You can't argue them. And if you actually look at the data, we have charts to know what the average splits of every 40 time. And like, for example, looking, and they also have RFID on inside Lucas Oil Stadium to know what their top miles an hour is. And we understand from sports scientists, we know exactly what the numbers need to be in order to run something.
Right.
Okay. And it always comes down to is like, why did they get this start 0 to 10? Because there's human error involved. Right. Like, for example, there was a guy that ran a couple years ago. I'm not going to say his name. But from some of the best facilities in the country, which to me is XPE down in Miami, with Tony Villani and Matt Gates. And
trying to get Villani on, man. I've been
Matt Gates is with Tony Villani.
They're partners.
Wow.
They're just, they're not.
I said some back in the day. That was like one of my guys was Matt Gates.
Yeah, they're both. They're first off, I need to make sure I say that they've done nothing but help me out and are tremendous people. So I want to make sure, and they're great coaches. But you can see that like you don't start off like red hot in the 40, and then like if you're a receiver, you don't run like a record time in the beginning, turn into a linebacker from 20 to 30, and then all of a sudden go back to being Usain Bolt. So when you look at the splits and see what the final splits are, and you go, oh. So you were scared to death that this kid could actually run a 4.1 based off your time and your error, and it might not have been the time to. There's a lot more granularity to that, and I'm not going to speak to it just because it's a whole ordeal, with the NFL. But I'm just trying to make a point of this. The 40 is just this huge debacle anyway, and coming back to your actual question, you got 8 to 10 weeks, and sometimes 6 if you go to the Senior Bowl and all that. To get guys to just run really fast and treat them like a track sprinter and train them on something that is obsolete once they're done. It makes me so mad because if we get guys that train for the combine, go to OTAs, and then they're coming back to us in July, which we're going to get for a 4 weeks in July before we send them to camp, the training is completely different. We're actually preparing them for football. It's not even close. We're just training them for a test. And all we tell them is like, guys, lock in to master this test and then forget it. Because why do they don't run 40s ever again in the history of the NFL?
Ever again. Ever.
Well, so
game tape tells you everything.
What is the better way to evaluate? Yeah, you mean just using MPH?
Simple. Yeah. So use GPS to get peak miles an hour in a time frame. So like, all right, cool. Why is 40 yards the 40-yard dash distance? Does anybody know?
Yeah. Why? No, I'm not. Clue us in, Coach. That's why you're on here, buddy.
And now I don't speak to this. I'm pretty sure that this is the reason, but it was the average distance ran on a punt, and that's from what I understand, something along those lines. Like that's kind of where that came from, where it was birthed from.
Okay.
But if you understand sprint mechanics too, I'd say about 85 to 90% of athletes are going to reach their top speed within 40 yards. Okay. A slow guy is going to reach top speed before anybody because they're not very fast. They're going to get there and then they die.
And that
the fastest guys can keep accelerating for a long time. You think like Olympic level track people can do it like 60 meters. That's elite. Okay.
Right.
So in football, that's going to be pretty close. And I would say the fastest guys now and how great the training is, they're continuing to accelerate even past that. But football is played in a box. Okay. So way I would do it is that I would use peak miles an hour within a constraint. So here's your yardage. What's your peak miles an hour, right? What's your peak acceleration rate? And then you can use a timing gate to see what your timing split was. And the technology is so available these days. It's cheap.
Yeah.
Like I'm tired of people complaining about not having the technology. Like, you're telling me the NFL doesn't have the money to be able to take, whatever system they want to whatever pro days or whatever and do it standardized? Sure they do, but they don't care because they don't have to. And it doesn't make them money. So they don't really care about being right. So if I'm evaluating a guy for speed, I want to see what their peak miles an hour is in a constraint, whether a 40-yard run, and then I want to see where their splits are in certain distances, and it's pretty simple.
I think they should just line them all up
And would you
and use FAT
and race?
It's pretty easy to know the fastest guy is.
Coach, would you?
That's how you know how someone's really fast or not.
And then would you break that
You
down?
also know the reaction time off of it. You also know the reaction time off the blocks, so they time it. They measure that. You know what their reaction time is to a stimuli, so you get that information, right? And then you could obviously couple that with MPH to get like how fast do they get to XYZ speed. What is their peak speed? Because sometimes you have like in the 100-meter dash, sometimes you have guys that maintain peak speed longer, and some guys, so like Usain Bolt.
There's a lot of different ways to a 40 too. That's the thing. Like, you got many guys that run 4.5, but they got there a different way. They may be really hot out of the gate and just try not to die. That's a lot of strength-driven linebackers that run 4.5, right? Or you got guys that don't come out real great, but they got great max velocity mechanics and end up picking up speed towards the end and still getting that 4.5. Two totally different runs, same time.
You know what I think is the bigger issue is that, and this you probably, I'm curious your thoughts on it. The bigger issue is they haven't yet in the NFL mapped out, which they should be able to do with speed because they have plenty of data, right, from all the colleges and all the kids. Everybody has a catapult, right, and at division, at least at Division I level, they're all measuring those things, all the time. They should be able to know the characteristics of a player and what kind of things they need, meaning explosion power. What makes most likely an optimal player? What they know the height and weight range already, right? They what is the miles per hour? What is the amount of acceleration they need to have to be able to have a more likelihood of being able to get a sack? Like, they have a lot of that information. They just don't compile it. So then you could go and actually customize the tests. You could have them you could have them run a 40 or a rolling 40 or whatever you have to do, but still measure those characteristics of each position along the way that they're running. You could actually run the 40 and utilize the data within that to get the things you need to get for each position. But they don't do that. Like, why do you think they don't bother doing that?
The teams do. The NFL itself doesn't.
Okay.
Because the NFL cares about is making money.
Right.
The teams know. Like, at the combine, you see, they do their vertical jump, whatever, but you saw before they went to the vertical jump, they're jumping on force plates.
Right.
Like, that's the data that they're looking at. Like, the teams are evaluating their own way. The teams know. The teams know whatever that time on that TV, screw that. This is just a spectacle. So, like, when I'm talking about the scouting departments of the NFL, they know what they're doing. Like,
so they got all that information. They're just not sharing. And each team has different requirements, right?
The trickle-down effect towards the people that I'm trying to make an impact on is the high school kids and the youth kids and parents and trying to educate. But they're like, but. And I'm like, you don't understand. That's just a facade,
Yes.
Like, and the thing that stinks is, like, you can still go to a college campus to stay. Like, for example, had a kid that was a 3-star kid, linebacker, really fast. I mean, dude's 6'2", 240 and could run like 4.58. Like, kid can run. Yeah, he was a monster. He's at Mississippi State now. And, like, we were trying to get him prepped to be able to, like, they were like, look, we'll offer you if you can run sub 4.6, at this weight. And we had to focus on it when he went to camp that summer. Like, hey, man, let's just try to get you a little more efficient.
Try to get under that,
in your start, and let's just get you going, because I want to get you that opportunity. You deserve it, man. Like, your film speaks it. But if that's what they think, and it's funny because he went and ran 4.58. And they were like, well, in the drills,
he's got to do this. Yeah.
And that was totally true because the kid was very much downhill. I thought eventually he was going to get moved to an edge.
Yeah, that's why he had a good 40. Yeah, absolutely.
And he's 240 pounds. He's a big guy.
Yeah,
he moves fast linearly. Yeah.
but they're still right on the evaluation that he probably isn't good enough to tackle in space. He's probably going to either be a Mike or end up being an edge rusher and get to 260, 265, which is what's happening, because that's his better profile anyway. So why did the 40 matter? So I mean, if you saw,
because that's what I think they have to right? Like when people ask, the first thing that these guys are going to ask is, well, what was his 40, right? And if you don't have that number to be like, oh, it was this, then it's like, well, what are we doing, right? It's just kind of one of those things that everybody asks about it. Look, I'm dealing with a kid. It's the same thing right now, right? He's a fringe FCS kid, but it's like, look, we know he can play, but how fast is he, right? What's his 40? I need to see it, right? Like, don't just tell me what it is. Like, I have to now, hey, he's got to come to camp. He's got to run a 40. Right? So
at the college
what are we talking
level,
about?
at the college level, they're yet to build out scouting departments that are more advanced to be able to analyze those things. And I mean, that's part of it, even though they probably have the tools to do it.
Oh, absolutely. At this point,
they don't have the personnel, because right now, not all in all cases, but most of the best scouting personnel is at the NFL, right? And you're starting to see some that are, okay, you know what? I'm a lower level player personnel guy or scout guy in the NFL, and I could go get a GM job at XYZ and make 100,000 more. I'll jump over there. You're starting to see that, but it's probably still a couple of years away. And I think that's part of, and that's why I think you see so many guys just going to the transfer portal too. How do you evaluate a high school player? It's a lot hard. How hard is it, right? It's really hard to evaluate a high school player versus with a transfer portal guy. I can go and say, okay, he did this at Wisconsin and he's interested in coming to me, or yeah, he was a 5-star, but he was only a backup here. But by me, he's probably better than most of the guys I have because someone already validated him with a high-level scholarship, right? So that's like intangibles that they don't have to worry about. Whereas a high school player, they need to have more of the scouting tools they probably have the tools, but need to understand the scouting process better, like the NFL, in order to get high school player. Because I think that's one of the issues, especially like when you're training, right? And you have a high school player that comes in and he's a kid like that 240-pound kid, and he's athletic, he's fast, and you still have to go through this process when you're like, man, I know this kid's a Division I level guy, but guy should be banging on his door. Well, 6 years ago they would have, you know what I mean? They would 100% have been banging on his door, but now because they are confused by the scouting process relative to high school players, and they kind of understand, okay, this guy's a Division I kid, I know this about him. They're now just taking the transfer portal players, and it screws the high school player. Like, it sends a lot of them maybe to a lower level than they should be. Not that that's the worst thing that could happen, because you could always move up, but it sends them to a different level. And the other thing it does is that maybe you get kids that don't play football at the next level, which is the thing I'm more concerned about, is that like a really good player decides, you know what, like, confused by the process, fringe Division I, FCA, they decide, I'm going to go be a college student, have a great time. You know what I mean? Like,
here's the thing. Here's a great point on this, and I want to make sure I make this emphasis. If the kid loves to play football, you should go play where you're wanted. Period. It doesn't matter the level. And I don't say this to brag, but I chose a Division II university over Division I based off my recruiting experience, not because of the level of play. Right? I played Division II baseball over Division I because of that. Now, here's the thing. I don't think that kids love football that much anymore. I think kids love.
I totally agree.
I think kids love football because it makes them feel loved.
Hell yeah!
It makes them feel something.
You're popular. You're popular.
You're popular. You're important. Who doesn't love a compliment in your direction, right? Like, who doesn't love that? Who doesn't like to be stroked, love the way right?
Football makes them feel. They don't love football. And so the thing is when it comes down, I hate it from a kid that's like, oh, I'm D1 or bust. You know how many times you hear that from parents? Like, it's ridiculous.
All the time.
So, like,
every day of my life, Coach. Every day of my life. Like,
I just want to ask the question, like, why? Because the real reason is because you want to be looked at as a superior parent among your peers. And that's just
Yeah,
the truth.
well,
It's
the
about
wine and cheese
your
party.
ego.
The wine and cheese parties, they want to be looked at as. Years ago, I used to say when I saw that changing when I was, where was I at? I think it was when I first went over to Indian Hills, Derek. I used to be like, well, people like, why'd they choose Ramapo, which was a powerhouse over Indian Hills? I used to say, well, it was more important for them to say at the wine and cheese party that I go to Ramapo than going to Indian Hills and starting. I'll be a backup there. It's a static. So when it started to change to that, I think it trickles down to the kids. And football used to be one of those sports, and maybe all sports were to a certain extent. But football definitely was one of those sports that there was only going to be fun, true fun on Saturday or Friday night, right? Because you're going to be working your ass off during the week, and you're going to be getting yelled at a lot of times, and it's not always going to be a pat on the back because of all the positive of obviously the concussion things is obviously we're safer and all the negative part about it is there's less hitting, there's less really figuring out how much a guy wants to be there. We've kind of taken a little bit of that away in football, and because football is such a physical sport, I think you can get away with what you're saying. I think you can get away with playing and not in high school level and not actually loving it. Whereas before, there were guys that liked it, didn't love it, but they really had to want to be there because coach is going to work your nuts off and you're going to be tortured, to a certain extent. So
I'll give some caveats to this.
Yeah,
just
sure.
From a devil's advocate standpoint.
I love it.
I think that you go back to the Junction Boys, which is moronic. Okay,
right, of course.
Coaches have got kids killed. So let's not when we glorify now, but at the same time, shared suffering builds teams. Period. I mean, it builds.
There's a balancing act. There's a balancing
some sort. Now, but here's the thing. I think that coaches can't hide behind their power anymore. Now, this is the advocate I have for the transfer portal. Okay. I don't think it's done right completely, but the positives of it, and it's happening in high school too. Kids are moving all over the place.
You don't have to tell us, Coach. We see this shit all the time here, especially my level, where I'm.
And so, all right, you can blame the parent and blame the coach that you're just running from the work, you're running from earning a spot, you're looking for the easy way out, which is absolutely true. I'm not taking away from that. But are you actually worth your salt now to make sure that when you coach, that your product is so good that you're attracting, that you want to stay anyway?
Damn right.
You actually have to be worth the shit.
That's a whole nother issue.
Recruit your locker.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And you
have status walking in just because you have coach behind your name.
That's a whole nother issue, which is the development of coaches and what is. So I mean, it's because I coached high school for 20 years. I ran all the showcases. I was an agent. I had a training facility for years. So I kind of seen a lot of the different things. And now, my son's coming up and I'm working, coaching youth. And it's interesting because what you talk about is very true. And part of the issue starts really at the youth level, which I didn't know until I started.
Oh, that's where it all is, buddy. I tried to tell you.
That's where it all, believe it or not, and only because I'm in it now, I wouldn't have never known if I'd stayed a high school coach, stayed in that others, I would have never known. But it all really begins at the youth level because not only is there a lot of different teams that they could choose from, endless amount of teams. Okay. So if you're not happy, you can go here. But the other part of what you talked about is true. Because you have so many volunteer coaches at the youth level, you have really great ones. You have really bad ones. You have ones that, and the range, Cody, is so wide. You know what I'm saying? Right. All you're really looking for the most part at youth is a guy that knows kind of what he's doing and is good to the kids. That's kind of what you're really, if you get more, it's a bonus, right? But you have this range of terrible to really good. And it all starts there because they're hopping around a team or some guy. At some point, you're going to come across a bad coach in youth, right? And this guy, you realize, I don't want to be in this type of program. So you hop over here. And so by the time they get to high school, it goes to what you're talking about with training. It goes to they have a hard time figuring out, like, is the guy that I'm going to in high school really good? Should I listen to him? This guy's really good. I should listen to him. Or this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, right?
Well, think about how, like, I'm 32 years old, so I've kind of got a really cool view. I'm young enough to see this new age, but I'm just old enough to kind of know before social media blew up, right?
It's exactly where I am, Cody. At 38, I think our range is right in that old school, new school type of viewpoint where we have it both.
I remember walking into our high school football organization, and it was like, you're gonna listen to coach no matter what, because he's coach. That's what you do. That's respectful. Yeah. That's how you do it. You trust your coach. That's how my dad raised me. Like, that's how it goes. But now, and also, like, there was a lack of information. You all of a sudden assumed that your high school coach was the expert and that you didn't really have any refute. And now there's so many bugs in your ear, and there's so many places to access resources. This podcast, YouTube, articles, social media. There's so many ways to access information. It's like, now all of a sudden dads and people of the community think that they can coach better than you, which is hilarious.
100% out. The best coaches are the ones in the stands on Friday night, Coach.
I've come across some guy like that's also the weird part about. That's why I say the range. Sometimes a guy is actually pretty good who doesn't have that great a background. You know what I'm saying? So it's all these like it's a mishmash of information, right? So you're 100% right. Like someone comes in, he thinks he knows something, he really doesn't. Then somebody comes in, didn't have much of a background, but he kind of pretty good, and you're like, you have to judge things at face value as you're going through the process, but it's also triggered. I agree with that. There should be a transfer portal because of a lot of the things that you talked about. I agree that players should get paid. There obviously should be some parameters on things.
Yeah, definitely needs to be cleaned up.
There nedes to be cleaned up. But
I don't know if that's the word for it.
The general premises, I agree with, but we need to have some parameters. But I agree that people should obviously try to have their own destiny, be able to carve out their own destiny. At the same time that they're you also got to be a great team guy and all those kind of things, right? And I think that's probably what makes it difficult, but to your point is really true. It's like you've got to it's almost like you've got to be able to educate yourself as a parent, as a coach. You've got to be able to make sure you're staying on top of things. Like you can't just I run this system and this is how I've always run this system, and all of a sudden, I don't know, you run, let's say, I don't want to pick on the wing tee because I actually like it, but I pick on the wing tee because that's the easy one to pick on.
It's the easiest one to do it because it's the most common.
I run the wing tee, and all of a sudden, in walks a quarterback that's 6'4" who could throw and run, and you're lined up in the wing tee, and he's running boot and waggle only. You know what I mean? And so, and you refuse to adapt to it, and that kid somehow leaves, and you're like, wait a minute, why did he leave? So there's a balance to it all, right? Like you have to be able to stay on top of things. And I reference. Well, Derek knows like there's a school in where we are in New Jersey, Old Japan. The guy was a wing tee guy, and he got in this guy. What was Fuller's first name? Devin Fuller. Devin Fuller came in. He played at UCLA. He was a receiver at UCLA. He was a receiver at UCLA, but was a quarterback in high school. 6'1", 200 pounds. Probably was a 4.4 40. Was like a 10.6 track guy. Great athlete. And he took the wing tee and he put him in gun, and he started running. So and he started adapting the system. And he completely started his evolution with Devin back in I don't know what year it was, like 2009.
2009.
Now going forward, because he evolved his system, and now he always adapts it to his players, still with the principles that he has. But now he's he's spread out. He runs RPOs, and he's won 2 of the last 3 state group championships because he continued to evolve, and that player triggered it with him. You know what I mean? He was like, "Whoa, I got this guy. I gotta adapt." And that's an example of someone being able to say, okay, this is what I like to do, but I have this guy or this group of guys, and I got to be able to work with them to figure out what's the best solution for this team, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, the great coaches I've always met, and one I worked for in my high school is a Hall of Famer, and I think he's one of the best I've ever been around. Is like people that are extremely solid in their principles, but methods are many, right? So like principles are here, how you behave, how you
awesome.
treat people, but football has principles too. Like how do you win? It's a space game, it's a leverage game,
Nice.
it's a matchups game. So like,
Damn right.
but we can get there a million different ways. Well, we need to look at our
Yeah.
personnel and see how can we exploit our opponent the best, both offensively and defensively within the same principles. And like the coach that I worked for was able to do that extremely well within like, all right, here's our broad template of how we do things, but now we can do it a lot of different ways. For example, when we went to the semifinals in 21, we had a lot of like really strong like mid-skill guys and ran a lot of gun, and we had a quarterback that could really run.
Right.
We ran a lot of like tight end H-back, like zone work, and had an unbelievable running back. And then in 23, when we went to the state title game, we had more of a pocket style quarterback with a crap ton of weapons and the best running back in the state, in my opinion. And now
Always
we
helps.
put him in the slot a lot and really went a lot more sideways. But I was just really enamored by the way coach did that. I'm just a performance coach just watching, right?
Right. Taking notes, baby.
How did you find a way to win? And are you willing to adapt? And there's too many coaches, either in performance and football or whatever, that are so set in stone of, well, this is how we did this in 1996 when we won with my linemen were 175 pounds.
Yeah, you're like, buddy, 96, a long way away, dude. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
like life, be a lifelong learner and adapt, but that doesn't mean that your principles or
your standards can stay the same.
Yeah, no doubt. Like the best coaches are old school in principle, but new school in methodology. Like that's the best way I know.
That's a great, absolutely. That's a great way to put it, Coach. Old school in principle, yet new school in like that's what it takes. I think. Yeah, that's what I literally think. Dave and I talk about this all the time, right? You're that coach that comes in and here's our rules, right? Like, boom, they're on the board. They're in the weight room. This is what we do. Then all of a sudden, your best player breaks one of those rules. And guess what? You have to discipline him or you have to make an example of him and you're fucked, right? Yeah. Set standards, because especially with what I like how it is now, this is a case by case basis. Every kid learns different, understands different, like they need to be treated as an individual. Yet at the same time, how do you keep the standards of the entire program? Right. I don't think they're the old school cookie cutter methodology where this is how we treat everybody. Like, look, everybody's treated the same, but not everybody, you know what I mean? Everybody's treated equal, but not everybody's treated the same. Right.
Well, everybody's treated fairly, not treated equal. So like, and for example, you can look at it from like the way I've always best heard it is this is also an exchange in value. Like how much value you give this team is going to dictate how you're treated as well, both from a locker room standpoint and on the field standpoint. If you don't give a whole lot of value to your team, then you're not that valuable to us. You know what I'm saying? So like we're more helping you than you are helping us, right? So if we're helping you more than you're helping us, you better abide by what we're saying, right? If it's the flip side, you're really helping.
We preach fairness, but there's no such thing as equality here.
No,
it's not.
Everybody's fair, but not
he runs faster than you. You're bigger than him. Everybody has a different skill set that they bring to the table, and you're going to address that skill set individually at the same time that you're building the team.
And I think that's where parents. That's where the gap is with parents a lot.
Because you're a baseball guy. I'm curious because you're a baseball guy and or were a baseball guy. I bet
he's an everything guy now.
Biggest evolution. I bet you've seen the biggest evolution in baseball because baseball used to really like not even address it, strength and conditioning as a thing. I mean, if a guy did it, he did it, but it wasn't like a thing. Obviously Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco, Barry Bonds were doing some level of strength and conditioning in addition to steroids. But obviously it did kind of bring it to the forefront, to be honest, that there is a value to it.
When you start valuing hitting the ball really hard and throwing the ball really hard,
you
start to extrapolate and reverse engineer how is that created? With all the technology and information now. I mean, dude, you look at guys, you look at freaking Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani and Aroldis Chapman, and those dudes are freaking in cut off sleeves and yoked out of their minds and still doing explosive things. It did away with all of those myths of like the weight room's bad for you. Like this just didn't exist anymore. Like performance in baseball is higher than it's ever been. I remember when 90 miles an hour used to be really fast. That's slow now.
That was like, hey, league status.
Like if you had 100 miles an hour arm, it was like, whoa, that's a spectacle. Every single club in the entire MLB has multiple 100-mile-an-hour arms.
Yeah,
like that's where.
And that's what, Coach. Would you say that's like in the last 10 years, right? Like, would you say that's in the last like 10 years? Because this has happened like fast, right? Because think about it, like 10 years ago, like you said, 100 miles an hour was like, look, your league status, this is what it is. You're going to get paid. Now it's like, look, if you, everybody, like you said, everybody is that. So you better just like, hey, 4-4 used to be like
Ryan used to be the only guy that threw 100, like back in the 80s. And I guess that's why he was around till he was almost 50, because he was the only guy back then that really threw that fast. I mean, there was very few guys. It's I don't know if you remember when the Yankees, I think it was I'm pretty sure it was, I don't remember if it was the Yankees or the Mets, but one of those teams brought in a strength and conditioning guy, and all of a sudden their top players started getting in like getting pulled hamstrings, right? And they fired the guy and they brought in a really good guy, right? And I it was about 15 years ago. It was right after Yankees were winning all of them, and then all of a sudden they started to take a dip. And they tried to like solve it, but solved it with the wrong guy. And the rest of the league woke up to the fact that they kind of have to really take that position seriously, the performance coach seriously, because these guys are performance athletes. And, when we had the University of Miami strength coach, your buddy,
Nick Soto.
And I heard a bunch of other guys talk about like the kind of guy that they're recruiting in baseball now is like, almost like a football player, like a football.
That's what he literally said that, right? Like that's what's getting recruited. Like they are athletic linebackers, strong safeties, right? Guys with skill, power, and explosion. That's what we're looking for.
Sorry, guys, I lost you for just a second. I think I'm back.
Oh no, you're good, Coach. Sorry.
No, what we were just saying is that like it in baseball, it's now they're recruiting guys that are like look like football players now, like have some of those explosive skill sets, and they feel like they can develop. I mean, you don't have to look much more further than like Aaron Judge they're gigantic, but it's really interesting. The evolution of strength conditioning. I don't want to like leave without talking more about what you guys are doing, and because we've talked about a lot. By the way, I love having you guests. I love how you challenge all the conversation. It's great. Talk about what you guys are starting to build. Whatever you can give away. You know what I mean?
Sure thing. Yeah.
What you're starting to build and where you kind of see that all going.
So what me and Brian have been kind of tagged to do is to lead the performance department of a new up-and-coming bigger company, okay, that is going to kind of model or challenge the IMG model a little bit. So it's really all I can really say for now. And it's going to start with a tennis performance academy and on a campus of about 115 acres of a campus that we've got here in Southeast Nashville. We've got, some equity behind this and a vision behind it that's really aligned to build the most tremendous tennis performance and academy in the country. Is where it's going to start, but it's going to branch off of that, and we're also going to have an academy that's going to be available for kids to basically come to us full time and have an online school curriculum and on-site support with teachers and train all day. That's where it's going to start, but we're also going to operate like a true sports performance business at the same time for the local area. So in order to generate revenue. So that's kind of what we're building now. The facility is in the process of being built. It's going to be world-class. I really believe it's going to be the best performance facility in the United States. And I am not kidding when I say that. That's how awesome it's going to be. Currently they're breaking ground right now and moving it over on our campus. And right now we're operating out of a couple of high schools here in the Nashville area. I'm at one right now. Through connections that we have, and we're going to be training anywhere from youth, high school, middle school kids, NFL pros, professional track athletes with coolest connections, and building some relationships and starting to create some buzz in this area of what real true performance training looks like. So that by the time that our building opens, hopefully in about March of 26, we'll be busting at the seams and people will be begging to bust our doors down to see what training is really like. So that's what we're building right now. We're building out operations, we're hiring, and doing all of those things to prepare for that.
That's what where's the job board, coach? Where's the job board? Where can I send my resume? Because Nashville sounds fucking phenomenal, brother. Like, let's go. What do we need, bro? What do you need? Like, I love it. It's exciting to see two guys that are at the top of their, you know what I mean, in their field, two top guys come together and have a vision and a process of how we're going to get here, and we're going to do it right? Because you can't have a good house without a foundation. And when everything gets aligned from the top down, that vertical alignment, it really creates a lot of, you know, positivity moving forward. And honestly, I think this is, if there's one positive that came out of COVID, it was that youth can succeed not stuck in a classroom from 8 to 3 every day, right? No doubt. And I think that's more like, I tell my high school guys all the time, they think I'm crazy. I said, look, college is easier than high school. Like, you go to class, you plug in for an hour, 45 minutes, and then you're done, right? Almost like a Tony Holler method of like, look, we're going 110%, and then we're doing what we have to do to take care. Like, we're bringing it down, right? Like, I think that's something that came out of that. So to see guys at your level kind of look at that and say, hey, there's something here, let's get it and go. I love it. It's awesome. I really think that, like, coach, I appreciate it. You know, I think you opened the eyes to a lot of our viewers that, like, hey, like, there is a lot of things that are out there that you really need to go and do your homework on and study up what really is going to put my child or whoever in a really good spot moving forward, right? And it might not just be what the dude next to you on the bleachers told you, because that's what he did with his kid, and that's what his brother did, and that's what it's not about that. And everything is individualized per kid in terms of, some guys it's going to work for some, it might not work for others, but you got to know the ins and the outs of it. And Dave and I had this conversation this morning. It's not find this information. Like, if you want to go learn about something or know how to do something, like, get ChatGPT, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the knowledge that's out there, you can go and find it.
Absolutely.
You don't have it, right? Like, go question things, right? Like, go find out really the nitty gritty that goes into it and what's going to put your kid in the best spot. Coach, I appreciate it, man. Taking the time, really, like, look forward to seeing what comes next. I love the teaser. I'm like all like jazzed up now. Like, where are they going to go with this? This is awesome. You know what I mean? So it's really good, coach. Oh, I love it.
I enjoyed the conversation. I love your thoughts and your input, and, you know, how you see everything. It's really great, man. Really, really great. We'd love to have you guys on again. Maybe we'll have both you
absolutely
cool on at the same time and have a four-person panel and just dive into some stuff. You know what I mean? So
sure thing. Yeah, we'd love to do it. Yeah, we're thank you for having me on. You know, I love talking this stuff, man. I'm super passionate about it. You know, we didn't really dive in too much into the training side, which is fine. I mean, there's a lot of topics we could talk about, you know, but I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to come and talk for you guys for an hour. And
we'll have you back, and we'll dive more into the training.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
All right, Cody, have a great day, man.
Thanks, man.
Have a good day, coach. Take care, buddy. Thanks.
Yep.
Great stuff. Really great stuff.
That's gonna be a beast, bro. That's awesome, dude. Love that. Like, someone wants to go challenge.
We didn't even dive into an hour went by. We didn't even dive into the training part.
Well, it's like, look, and like, you know, we talked about like, hey, what are we going to talk? You know what I mean? Like, because that's always something. I said, look, like, this show is more of a dialogue, right? Like, we can take a certain track and stay on a certain track. I said, but for the most part, we just take it, and whatever comes up or like, that's what I love about our podcast opposed to others. There's no agenda. There's no, these questions are going to be asked, right? It's a dialogue conversation of, look, that's interesting. Like, what do you think about that? And some of our best shows come from guys who challenge or bring up opposing views, and it's not, it's a healthy back and forth of
Great.
And that's what I love about this, is because it opens your eyes to like, hey, we never, you never thought about that, or look at it from this perspective, or hey, because I was here and had done this, it allowed me to now look at it this way. And I think that's what makes us better in terms of just everything we do, whether it's, the work or just as human beings, like the eye-opening things that we get from talking to so many different people from so many walks of life with so many different views on things. Like, I think it's just an awesome way to do things.
Awesome. That went in the direction I was, because I end up getting really curious of his thoughts on some of those things, like the 40-yard dash. Like,
dude, that was awesome. That was fucking unbelievable, right? Like, because look,
and I know people don't realize I know the owner of Zybeck. So,
but what's funny, Dave, is like
even though I know him, I've never was on board. I always say, like, people are always like, oh, timing. I'm like, the only timing that is 100% accurate is when you have a gun and you have the electronic timing of a track. That is 100% accurate. What he brought up with the point of the human person,
human error, 0.08, dude, 0.08. That's drafted, not drafted. That's and people don't understand. Like, that is 0.08 is fucking like crazy, this, dude. Like,
crazy.
That's not even like the difference between like a first and second round. That's literally the difference between getting a roster spot or never playing football again in your life. Like, that is the dramatic number that we're talking about. And I love that he also brought up, like, hey, my kid runs a 5.2. He's got to be a 4.8 by the time he gets to camp. Like, people need to understand, like, that's not even, what do we talk? Like, we're talking about if guys move a couple tenths is whoa, right? Like, you're not going from a 4.9 to a 4.4, dude. Like, and you said best to me, it was like that's
when I had a training facility. Now, people wanted to get better, okay?
Of course.
But there was almost no one that came in that ran like a really slow time and thought that they were going to run a fast time. Like, they would come in, like, literally the parents would be like, my kid isn't that fast. I need to get him faster. Like,
right.
Okay, cool. We could do that. Like,
it's probably the number one thing that parents come in to a training facility and say, right? Or, hey, my kid needs to get stronger. He benches this. He needs to be at that, right? Like, those are the two things I think that are like 1A, 1B in terms of why are you bringing your kid to a trainer specifically, right? At some point, somebody said he needs to get faster. He needs to get stronger, or she, right? Because we see females now, like, this is a huge deal.
Times like that's
if you want to be at this level for this position, you need to run this, or you need to lift this. Like, the parameters are the measurables that they're looking for. And look, we've heard, Coach Schiano talk about it all the time. If they don't run this, I'm not talking to him, right? Like, recently, Bill Belichick has come out, or Nick Saban has come out, and they've talked about, like, hey, like, Saban talks about all the time when he was with, Belichick in Cleveland, like, hey, our corners are going to be this tall, this weight, and they're going to be able to run this. And if they're not that, don't even waste time, because that's what I'm looking for. That's his way of doing things. Not saying that's everybody's way, but that has really come into, I think, a lot when it comes to, how guys get recruited. And that's also, like, to piggyback on that, that's why finding the right fit for you as a player is so pivotal and so important. Because, like we talk about, if you want to play college football, man, we can get, and you, like, one, like Coach talked about, you got to love it. But two, even based on your measurables, like, we can get you somewhere that fits that'll be right for you. But you have to be willing to throw all of that social media and comparison to others. He's playing D1 and this is D2 and all that. You got to throw all that shit out the window and just go where you're wanted so that you can now have an opportunity, right? Because it's not a promise, it's an opportunity to have that shot.
You know, one of the things that you heard, was it you? No, you're the one that told me it, I think, right? Were you the one that told me about the SEC or no?
Yeah. Last night that they're breaking away from the NCAA.
So if that happens, and like say the Big Ten goes, like you're getting in sports into football. Let me rephrase: football and basketball. You're getting into almost like a I don't know if it's boxing, but like boxing used to be a really, really widespread sport. And then it was so specialized and you had to be so determined to be good in it that it became a sport that not as many people played at the highest level, obviously, and it's much more brutal. Football more than basketball, but like at the highest level, like I think that the love thing is going to become a much more important thing because you're going to have to really love it if you want to be at the best, highest level, because it's not going to be available to you otherwise. It's just not.
Those windows are so little, right? Like you only have a small little like window and an opportunity, and if you don't jump on it, somebody else will, because there's 1,000 kids waiting behind you to take that spot. And then even when you get that spot, guys are recruiting to replace you from day one. So I love the other part they brought up about like ego and all that kind of stuff. Like who doesn't like to be recruited? Who doesn't like to be in the spotlight in terms of like, you know, how that whole kind of thing works. I mean, it's really one of the things why I feel like guys are so quick to jump. Another reason that why guys are so quick to jump back into the portal is because they were just like, they were sought out for so long and through the recruiting process. Now, once you sign and get to that school, that stuff like stops a little bit. It's continued to pick up now because guys have to recruit their own rooms, right? Just to keep kids at school, right? But that's on a whole different level than what it used to be, right? Like college coaches, once you got there, all right, we're good. He's here. Let me go get the next guy. No. Now you have to like continue to recruit your room. And even that, I don't think is at the level of where you're still recruiting a high school kid or you're still doing all that. And kids like that. They want to feel that level of importance. Like, I need this guy. Who doesn't want to be needed? Who doesn't want to be wanted? Right? Like it's just a thing in life that we deal with, right? Because that's just what it is. Our egos, we want our egos stroked. We want to be told how good we are and that the team needs us and all those things. And for a high school kid to have, you know, to be getting that sophomore, junior, senior year, then you get to campus and it stops, right?
Yep.
What? I'm not important anymore. I'm not needed. I'm not wanted. Well, you know, fuck you, coach. I'm going to another place where that guy's telling me how great I am, or the negative recruiting process of that coach doesn't know what he's doing. You're a better player. You should be playing. They want that. Let me get back into this portal where now I'm that guy again. And, you know, it's just kind of what we're dealing with, dude. Like it really is. That's why his reference to, look, you can't hide behind the coach title anymore. Go make your program someplace where guys don't want to leave because it's too good to leave. The grass isn't always greener, but you better make that shit greener than green. Because when you're there, because those guys have opportunities to go other places now, and they're going to want to, if you don't have a product or a program that's really, really good and continues to, like, the consistency of it is, everybody can do it for 1 year, Dave. We talk about it all the time, right? Like, you can have a good group, win, do all that shit, but to continuously do it and consistently do it, that's where your standards and your program and all of those things that coach just referenced in terms of like whatever you need to keep guys at your place have to continuously evolve and change and tweak and do all those kind of things so that ultimately you win and guys want to stay a part of that product. not go run and jump for something else because now they're being, recruited and told how good they are and all those kind of things.
Well, I think that's a big part of it. It's very,
you see it at your level in the youth, man. Like, hey, you're playing for that program. They're not good. They're not using you right. You should come here and be the guy and do that. That guy gets to that new team, and now all of a sudden it's like, wow, like maybe the other place wasn't as bad. I should have just stayed and kind of did my own, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I think you got to have a level of whatever in that initial recruiting phase. Like, look, this is what it is. This is what you're going to be told to do. This is what I need you to do to be whatever. And if you feel like you're not going to be able to do that, then maybe this isn't the right fit in the first place.
Agreed.
It could save everybody a lot of headaches. Yeah, man, I would be juiced to get him back on, him and Brian at the same time. Like, that would be something, you know what I mean? Like, because you just see two guys that are alphas in their fields, bro. And when those guys like that team up, I mean, we're talking like, here's the NBA, dude. Here's the super teams. Like, you got two Steph Currys, like, rocking with something that hasn't really been done, right? Other than, like you talk IMG, they're kind of in a category of their own, right? And now you're going to bring in an area. I think that's key too. Geographically, you're talking Nashville, which is like one of these big up and coming spots of like there's people going there for all kinds of stuff. And I just think that could be a real big appeal. I think it's smart to start with tennis, like as your guinea pig, as a feeler. You know what I mean? Because tennis is international, right? To draw on that, it's male female, so you can get both sides of it. I think it would be really hard to start with football, basketball, where, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's already alphas in that world. Like, now you can kind of test this with the tennis and then branch out and do what you got to do in terms of those other sports, So you just have more of, I think, like
IMG started with tennis, so
right. Was it tennis? I thought it was like tennis or golf or swim or one of those international, brother.
Andre Agassi.
He's a great pickleballer, bro.
Is he really? How Andre Agassi must be old by now. He must be.
Oh, come on, dude. Isn't he married to like another tennis? Who is he married to? Steffi Graf or some shit? He's struggled, bro. He has a lot of stuff in his past in terms of like struggle off the court or off the whatever the hell they call it. Tennis, I guess it's a court, right?
Andre Agassi, how old is
he? I know he's bald as shit.
I'm like, not now. I just feel old. He's only.
Is 55. He older than you?
He is. He's 55 though. He's only 55.
Listen, when Coach said, "Hey, I'm 32," and I'm kind of in that old school,
like 30 years ago.
Come on, man! It was him against Pete Sampras. That's what I remember. Tennis being.
I think I'm gonna cry. I realize I'm old.
Oh, come on, dude! We've known.
I'm almost as old as Andre Agassi. How is that possible?
I mean, look, he might. I mean, he's probably had 2 knee replacements. You haven't had one yet. You're good.
Yeah, I'm not getting there. All right,
we might need to replace your spine soon, but that's all right. I thought you were gonna ask him that. Hey, buddy, you got anything for back injuries like that could help me out? Because I can't sleep because of sciatica shit, dude.
I'm doing it last night, even after our what you call. I went right in. I stretched it out. I did my exercises this morning.
I think that's a good gauge for you because that's like right now, right? Because now that 7-on-7 season's over and we're not running tournaments and we're not, taking 30,000 steps a day. The most you're going to be on your feet is a night where we have flag, where it's probably 3.5 hours of like walking, doing whatever,
maybe
like
1,000 steps,
right?
Not near as much,
something like that. I mean, yeah. I mean, look, I'm still like, I average 20,000 a day easy, just because of like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's without like focusing on like, hey, I got to take a walk today. Hey, I got to get on a treadmill today. I mean, look, obviously I ain't been on a treadmill in a hot fucking minute, but even those steps, dude, like you feel it, like, when you've been on your feet for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And it all works from the ground up, man. If your feet are jacked, now your knees are jacked, now your hips are jacked, now your back is killing you. And if you ain't sleeping right, like your life ain't going to be good, bro. Shit.
Like it's interesting because I talked to the guys around here, strength and conditioning wise, people we all know.
Sports
Yeah.
performance guys.
I don't think we're caught up though around here.
Dude, we're still, I think, years behind. Look, I think we said that when we came down here in 2019. Like, hey, these guys are 10 years behind. I still firmly believe that in whatever field we're talking with, whether it be football, sport, like all that stuff. And that's being what? 40 minutes south of where we grew up and figured it all out. I don't know. I think we're a little different in that world, but who knows? Like, I just, shit, man. I don't want to have to, like, that back stuff is no joke. And for you, like, you've had back issues since college, right? So you're talking over 20 years of dealing with something in regards to your back, dude. Like, shit, that scares me.
I'm not saying I saw the one that I heard, the herniated one
scares me.
They were more in the middle of my back, but I do exercise, so I've been able to keep that under control.
It scares me, man.
The low, I'm feeling, and obviously the sciatica must be really, the spine part must be really low, like almost in your, like towards your tailbone. So that I've never really had a problem with. So that might just be age and some level of stenosis or something. You know, like as you're getting older, it starts to squeeze. Because I never had an issue there. I had it literally like towards the middle ones, and that was more stress, like not stress like me stressed out.
No,
like
physical stress, right? Like, yeah, like we, and look, and I think some of that, like for you, okay, you were 6'2", 2 something, you know what I mean? Like me, buddy, I was always the smallest guy on the field, running into a lot of fucking bigger guys, full speed for a lot of years. And so for me to look at like my body and where the issues arise from that, like I feel very, very fortunate because just that nature in itself, being a 5'8" small dude, like always undersized in terms of what I was banging into. Like the human body wasn't meant to run into people full speed. Like that's not what we were meant to do. You know, like the evolution of man doesn't prepare the body to run into another human full speed as a game. You know what I mean? Like, well, so for where I am physically, I feel like I don't have, knock on wood, I don't have back issues, right? Like
we got to play. Defense is better, I think. So
yeah,
is better for your back than like what I played fullback. Fullback was, so when I moved to defense, my back actually got better. When I was at offense, I felt like fullback crushed.
Dude, you're a battering ram. I mean, and I look at it like this, right? Like ultimately my decision came down to Monmouth University or Sacred Heart University, and Sacred Heart wanted me to play defense and Monmouth wanted me to play offense. And you know what? I wasn't going across the middle for 5 years and getting mollywopped, like, because that's when that could happen. You know what I'm saying? So I made a life decision. Yeah. I would be a slot receiver, and like, I'm not doing that, like, because I'm catching the ball, whatever it takes. Like, I'm going up to make that catch. I'd have been dead. I'd have had 22 concussions. Defense, you're delivering the blow, not taking it. I mean, you know when you're going to hit, but it's different, right? Like, you know you're hitting, like, hey, I'm preparing for impact right now.
Right.
Receiver, impact was coming. I didn't know when it was coming because my focus was on a brown thing flying through the air. Like, and I wasn't going to be the guy that was like known to be like, he can't go across the middle because he's soft as shit. Like, I'm not doing that, dude. I'm going to get the ball. I couldn't even imagine what I'd be. You want to talk about like CTE? Holy shit, dude. Like, I got it in general. Because you imagine if I was going across the middle for 5 years, played at Monmouth? Holy shit. No way, dude. Concussions would have been this way.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right. Let's great podcast, and then
we're back tomorrow.
We're back tomorrow with I gotta look that guy up more. All right, perfect. So
yeah, man, because you get to fire some questions at him and see, like, you know, what his first scholarship.com is all about. That's kind of why I brought him on. Like, I want to see guys that are in that field, right? That are, you know, questionable, right? Like, you're asking kids to invest in you from at a pivotal point in their life, right? Like, what are you doing? Like, are you doing it right, or what? How are you going about this? Because new age of where these guys are starting to really kind of like come up and be in the limelight, because they're the handlers a lot of times, because parents will just pass it off because they don't want to do the homework, they don't want to do the research, and they don't know this world. These guys are,
and part of it, there's less, I hate to say it, less opportunity. Am I right?
Yes.
Or maybe
No, you're
not
100%
less.
right.
Maybe I am. All right.
I think
it's pushed down. Maybe it's just pushed down. It doesn't mean less. Maybe it's more pushed down.
Correct. I think it's more like the opportunity for, and we've talked about it, the opportunity for the high school athlete to now be a scholarship player has lessened in the last 2 years more than it ever has before. And that's with roster sizes increasing, scholarship opportunities increasing.
Yeah,
I think that's really like the nitty gritty of it, bro.
There's more people playing sports than ever with less
opportunity. And or I think the timing of opportunity, right?
When you were in school, I think you were, I would
2004.
That was like the golden age to like about 2015, like early 2000, 2015 was a golden age.
Before the communication through social media became the norm. That's how I look at it.
The kids that I used to say football had 8 times more opportunity than any other sport, to be able to
more. There's no way I think that's the same way, Dave.
No.
What did you say? How much did you say?
I used to say 8 times more likely scholarship, because the math was there was 85 at Division I, and basketball had 12, I think was the next one.
Now football, you're at what, 105?
You're at 105. So you still have 9 times more to scholarship opportunities. But
I think it doesn't happen
who it's
from
going
high school.
towards. That used to be high school. So when I was saying
think about it like 4 years of high school, and to me, add 2 more years now, because most transfer portal guys are freshmen or sophomores in my eyes, or red shirt sophomore, right? So maybe 3 more years. So now it's 8 years of opportunity.
So if you say half the spots are going to transfer portal guys, let's say there's 50. So now it's down to 4 or 3 times as more likely.
Yeah.
That's a 50% drop of opportunity.
Huge number. And the microscope is on you so much more, where everybody sees what you're doing, because it's, you know what I mean? Like, I just think that in itself, it's no longer, hey, just watch the tape. Now it's workouts, 7-on-7s. If I see one more kid post I'll be at these camps for, on these like, dude,
there's 2 things that bother me.
Just I'm posting
I'm not mad about it.
It today.
I just think, come on. One is exactly what you just said. Okay, you're going to a camp. Like, why do I need to know what camp you're going to? Like a million people get invited to camps, like, you don't have to post it. I mean, I'm glad to repost it for you, but like, I just don't see the value in it. And then the second thing is, so that's the one you talked about. The second thing is, can people stop making believe they're signing something?
Dude, there's no fucking national letter of intent.
You don't even sign a letter of intent. There is no letter of intent anymore. So why are people just take a picture? Please just take a picture. Take a picture with your parents and your coaches. Cool. I don't need to see a fake piece of paper out in front of you. It's driving me nuts. I can't
put a fucking hat there, wear a shirt, and
you're going to this school. Wear your gear. Everyone line up behind you. Put your friend, whoever the hell you want. I don't care.
Put your whole team back there. Look, I love the guys that put their
believe you're signing something. You're not signing anything.
I love the guys that put their girlfriends right next to them. I'm like, buddy, as soon as you leave, dude, she's.
I just don't understand.
So,
you're not. There is no national letter of intent anymore. You're not signing anything anymore.
That's how I can always track when the seasons are changing in terms of okay, what's the next phase? It's like, look, So thank you, so-and-so, coach, for coming into school today to see me, And then it goes to, hey, I'm going to be at these camps and And I'm like, bro, like, enough. We don't need, if a coach gives a shit about where you're at, he doesn't need to know what fucking camp you're going to. Or, hey, here's my workout from the other night, And then there's 50 coaches tagged. Like, dude.
Oh, I get old. You get those
What?
in your DMs?
Dude, do you know how many guys are like, hey, coach, I would love to come check out your school. Or do you have a buddy? I ain't a fucking college coach, dude. Do your homework, figure it out. Like, it's why I don't put that shit in my bio, because I love to see how many DMs and tags and all that kind of shit. Guys tag people and have no idea. Or the generic, like, hey, coach, check out my tape. I'm like, bro, what the fuck, dude? Like, I hope you're not doing this, like, you know, like, that's not my name. You know, like, that's not my name, dude. Like, insert coach's name here. I'm like, ChatGPT didn't tell you had to change the name for every message you sent, dude. Like, holy shit, dude.
Listen, that's all you need to. Please just change the name. Please.
Like, to me, the attention to detail.
I understand that.
100%.
For the most
but those
part,
are the guys that you'll get the message right after him. Sorry about that. Like, you know, that was that. Okay, dude. Now I know you're crossing your T's, dotting your I's. But the generic message send, like, buddy, how much do you really love this, or how invested are you in this that you can't even take 2 more seconds to change a fucking name? That tells me a little bit about you right there, dude. Because at the end of the day, a zebra always has stripes, bro.
Like, I understand they're trying to get through it fast and all that kind of stuff. I get it, but like, at least put the name correctly. Like, I get it, but that's the bare minimum, you know. Now, listen,
or is it mom doing it? Like, what are we doing? Like, you're 16, 17 years old. Next year, you're gonna have to do your own laundry, bro. Like, why is mom still like for you? Or shoot, I deal with it all the time, right? Like, high school kids, like that. Why is mom emailing me? I saw you 10 minutes ago in the weight room. Why are we not having this conversation? Like,
I also want to tell quarterbacks.
Oh God, dude.
I want you to understand, yes, you're good. I watched your film, you're good. That does not mean you're going to get a Division I scholarship.
Just because you can complete a pass, dude.
There's only one guy who starts at quarterback for every team. So let's say they have 6 on a roster, okay? Let's say they go 6 deep. I mean, I don't know if they do go 6 deep, but it may not. 3 of them may be good, you know. But if there's 6 of them on a roster,
but also like completing.
There's not many quarterbacks, and
level 2, man. Like, just completing a fucking pass in a high school game doesn't constitute a scholarship, dude. Like, what? Come on, man.
I try to help them, but so like.
It's just who they. It's
you can be really good, but it does not. You could be. That's the hard thing for people. They don't understand that you could be really good and still not get recruited.
100%. I try and tell guys all
you could be really
the time,
good,
dude. You could do everything right.
And you could be a good player and be a high school, like a division. You were a higher level Division III player. Like, I mean, you could be a really good high school player and just be like kind of a Division III, a guy, right? A guy on the team.
Correct.
It doesn't mean that you're not good because of that. Like, they get that confused. They think that like they're what? People don't think I'm good. I'm like, I'm good. Yeah, you are. You're a good player. But just because you're a good player doesn't mean that you're scholar. Like, it's hard. I don't know how you continue to explain it to kids, but so many kids play sports. Like, I'm like, what is it that is so unique about you that makes you better than everybody else? Sometimes it's your height. Sometimes it's your speed. Sometimes you just make plays that are out of this world. Sometimes it's you have a knack if you're a running back for like just getting to the end zone, right? But you know, just because you ran for 10 touchdowns in a season does not mean you're going to get recruited. Like,
you might have ran for 10 touchdowns against a dude who's going to Dunkin' Donuts, like, and never gonna play football again in their life. Like, no offense to Dunkin' Donuts workers, like, sorry guys, but what are you playing against? And even that, at the end of the day, what are statistics, right? Like, that's great. College coaches don't give a shit about that, dude. They don't care. That might be a small percentage of what it is. I want to know, like, who you are, what makes you tick, how hard you work. Do you have the ability to retain the information and be coachable? Like, the things that people think are important to be recruiting, to me, well, it's just mind-boggling when you ask somebody, like, well, what do you think he needs to do to get to the level that you think it is? And I think the expectation too, because of social media now, and the like, the fact that everybody can see so many things, like that expectation of, oh yeah, well, he's a scholarship guy. Like, dude, do you even know, like, what's outside of your little bubble? Like, you don't. So there's 27 guys that are better, like 27,000 guys.
I'm rarely impressed when I see guys. Like, I'm rarely impressed.
We
like,
are both extremely tough critics because of what we've seen and where we've been. And you obviously more so than me on a national level of seeing some of the best when it came to your camp circuit and your showcases and all those kind of things. But, you know, I think I'm a pretty good judge of talent to get to that next level because of, like, working with you, the programs I've been at, some of the teams that, you know, where I've been and who we've played against on a bigger scale, whereas most people only know their high school and the teams they played against, or maybe their state. I'll give them that. They might know their state, like, but the level of talent all over the place, it's fucking nuts, dude.
I've looked at kids' film and I'm like, you know, I would say you have FCS level talent. But
right.
That doesn't mean you're going to go FCS because of
absolutely not.
Because they're going to recruit transfers. Do you have the talent to play there? It doesn't mean you're going to get the opportunity. In the old days, like literally less than 10 years ago, if you had that talent level, you probably had a good chance of getting that opportunity. It does not that anymore.
That anymore, bro. Or a guy, you might get some guy with way lesser talent may get something because he's a better fit for the program, or he's what we're looking for. It's case by case. It's
when you were coming out of high school, like the kid from RBR, the receiver, the 6'6" kid, I would have 100% could have told you 100% if I was coaching him back then. 100%, I would have been able to get him a scholarship just off of what he can do and his height.
Both of them.
The other one still, I would say yes, but he's 6'1", so you know it's yes, it's tall, but it's not like I would say 6'6" is slam dunk height, right? So
yep,
slam dunk. So the slam dunk height, I would get. That does not mean you will get an opportunity now, and that's the difference between then and now.
Right, because most people would have been drooling over that kid, and they're going to fight.
You project. You know what? If he doesn't pan out, well, at least I took a 6'6" guy. Right now, you take a 6'6" guy has to develop, okay, physically. You could go get that same guy from another school who's already developed.
Yep.
That's the hard part because you have to consciously say, "Hey, I'm going to invest in this kid." And oh, by the way, even if I invested him,
he might leave.
He might leave 2 years from now. So I may
or if I invested him and develop him to the other level, right? Like, it works both ways. I can develop him and he gets, like, maybe he doesn't pan out and now he leaves, and then, or I develop him, he gets way better and he still leaves. So what the fuck?
Right. So that's a very, very. So
what do you do?
That limits the number of schools that might be interested, and it's very, like, my whole thing is,
dude,
you want to get a scholarship? You literally are you the best guy, period, in the Shore Conference? Are you the best guy? Meaning, are you one of, let's say there's 5 guys in the Shore Conference that you're like, holy shit? Are you one of those 5 holy shit guys? If you are, you're probably going to get a scholarship. If you're not one of those 5 holy shit guys, then you're at the next level. Okay.
First off, you just have to be a holy shit guy in general, right? And
We
there
have
ain't
to be
that many
holy shit
holy,
guy in general.
and
I'm
there isn't
saying
many holy shit
not only-
guys.
Not only do you have to be a holy shit guy, you have to be a holy shit guy. But
now you have
to be a
like
holy
that's
shit
the
guy.
minimum. Like holy
That's-
shit guy is the
minimum.
next trap piece. Like that's like like you have to have that. Now all of the other things that you have to stack on top of it, but these other things, I think there's no order to them. Each program puts them in their own order, whether it be, speed, character, grades. Those things can kind of like jump levels, like this is important. That's program based. But at the bare minimum, you have to have this. And look, it's hard because there's not many opportunities to prove it, right? You only get a certain number of football games. And look, I might be wrong in this, and I don't know if I'm not a college coach, and I'm not one of those guys that does that. But look, man, I don't give a shit. The video about you training, your 7-on-7 clips. I don't care about your highlights. I want to watch a game tape, and at the end of that first quarter or at the end of that game, after watching it, are you still a holy shit guy? Because there's a lot of holy shit guys in shorts and a t-shirt, bro.
I think you have to be a holy shit guy at the end of it. Then I'll go look at those other things.
I love how we just created the holy shit guy thing. I think we should market that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. So when you put on a film, sometimes these films are so bad. By the way, that's the other thing. You have to have. I mean, high schools, you got to do some investment into a film guy.
Listen, we know a guy, Alan Sparks, right? Kudos to him. Like, hire him on. Look, and if you're really that person, to me, and this might be something, Dave. Like, I don't think this is.
Holy shit, the film's so bad, though. Have you seen?
I don't think, dude. You don't have to tell me. I look at my own highlight tape, and I'm like, how the fuck did I get recruited? Because you can't even tell it's me out there, like, because it's just like whatever. But at the end of the day, I also think,
trust me.
Yeah, like fuck. Like, yeah, he's standing next to a coach who's 5'4". Look at how tall he is. But I also think that as a parent or who's ever handling that recruiting, one, if you're a coach that cares about your kids, your film is on point, right? Like, you make sure that your huddle and all those things like are on point, because that's, that there's always going to be kids that want to get to that next level. And that's key. That's one as a head coach. If the head coach doesn't invest in that, right, I don't think it's overstepping as a parent to now go and hire somebody to come to games and film individually. Like, go get started.
Yeah.
Right? To like whatever. Or look, if you think mom can do it real well without fucking losing her mind, and she's able to shake the milk jug with pennies in it and cheer while she films you, that's fine. I think that's important as well. If you want to invest to that level, I don't think that's overstepping. I don't think that's what I think. Film. There's no other, no college coach to
look at. So now he's 100%. A holy shit guy. Now I go to his Twitter, and I think he's really good. And I see him doing some crazy things in 7-on-7. I see him doing some crazy workouts. And he looks like he's
that's if you can find him on Twitter, because his fucking handle or whatever it is actually the name that goes with the person. Don't give me this like all of the other guys. Like, recruiting 101, be searchable and be findable, so that college coaches don't have the time to look for Billy Smith, who's hashtag top 5 player, whatever. Like, what the fuck? You're in
trouble. If your name is John Smith, there's so many John Smiths. You're gonna have to put like John Smith, like your brick, right? John Smith brick.
Yeah, put your location. Be searchable. Be findable, so that I don't have to go any step further than typing in your name. Because look, in all honesty, eye-opening, like, I don't care. That might be a deterrent right away. If a guy can't find you, you might lose an opportunity, because that's like, I can't find him. Fuck it. Next guy. I don't have the time.
That's annoying, by the way. It's the most annoying thing.
No shit.
Like, go find
it's such an easy thing, bro. Put in your name. I get it. If you have a common name, okay. Put a fucking number. What class are you? 20. Billy Smith, 2026. Like, location, brick, like whatever school you're at, like, you know what I mean?
Please
like,
don't put Billy the goat. Don't put Billy the Goat
Eh.
as your name. Put your name in there.
5-star. That like, dude, make yourself searchable. Make it easy. Like that. It's just there's so many of these little things that at this point we're splitting hairs.
You could type it into ChatGPT and it'll tell you exactly what to do. Have you ever tried that? I've done it. I go in there.
Listen, remember
how do I
we
get
did the
recruited for college? I put it there.
we did it. We did it together. I think we did it on air for Christ's sakes. Like, here's what it is, dude. And look, it wasn't off. It was pretty damn good. Go to Prospect Camp. Listen, you loved it because they brought up go to a showcase or a combine, like with, for example, Dave Schumann and UC Sports. Like, there you go, buddy. Still got it, kid. Still got it.
There's not too many of them around, so there's not many to go to.
What do you mean? That's why all these kids come to you, because you got their dad's scholarships, brother.
That's true. Let me think now. So who's the guy we had on today?
Cody.
32.
32. Coach Hughes.
That means in 2010,
I mean,
17.
Think about the guy we just had on, the receiver special teams coach from Bloomsburg. He's fucking 23, 24. There you go.
Wow, life is interesting. All right,
Andre Agassi, buddy. Andre Agassi.
By the way,
All
that
right.
is interesting. That Bill, dude. If it's Nashville, that's a nice place to live. Maybe
Southwest Nashville, buddy.
Maybe
And look,
can I keep
So if
doing
you-
what I'm doing in the
look, bud.
in
I'll teach whatever class to whatever high-level athletes you want, dude. Bring them into me. Let's go. What do we got to learn here? Oh, this is the class we got to take. Like, let's get out and go, dude. Oh, wait, my daughter can come here for free? Cool. Let's rock. Ain't a bad Nashville, buddy. Let's go. Okay.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Awesome. All right, great pod. I was hoping we dipped at the 200, but it stays now. It's back 198. I guess they're getting bored. Well, we'll let them go.
They're still listening to us ramble 20 minutes after Coach Hughes.
Oh,
is
yeah,
out. Like, you know, so like shit, dude. There you go. Hurry up. End it there.
People like the pod, no doubt.
Yeah, because we just ramble and just do whatever we do. Like, yes. All right, man. I'll talk to you later.